right, I'll begin with reading all of the motions that we have to do. This is the meeting of the African American History Initiative Committee, Inventory Committee, I'm sorry, August 10, 2021, 2:30 p.m. The first motion. Let me back up. I'm Phyllis Walker Ford, and I'm here from Clifton, Virginia. To conduct this meeting wholly electronically, the AAHI committee needs to make certain findings for the record to evidence our compliance with all applicable laws. These motions address this compliance. First, I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each committee member participating in this meeting to state your name and your location. I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. Okay, Mary Lipsey.
Mary Lipsey's here. Mary Lipsey's here in Springfield.
Barbara Naif.
Barbara Naif in Reston.
Tammy Marino.
Hi, this is Tammy Manarino in Mount Vernon.
Ann Stuntz. I saw Ann's name earlier.
Yeah, I see her name down there too.
You might be on mute or trying to decide which.
There's a little triangle.
And Stuns here near Vienna.
Oh, she's really cutting.
It's her audio.
Yeah, try again, Ann. There's a little yellow triangle up in the upper left-hand corner. It keeps flashing on, so she's.
Oh, she has an issue. Yes.
Okay, we'll come back. Esther McCullough.
Did you get me? That time.
And say it again. I think we're having trouble.
Can you hear me?
You keep cutting out.
You're breaking up.
About every third or fourth word.
You might need to call in. Okay, let's go to Barbara Peters. Okay. Barbara Peters.
Did we hear
Susan earlier?
Barbara was here when we first signed on.
Phyllis, you also called Esther McCullough, but I didn't hear her.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think she's here. Okay. Barbara and Ann, we'll keep checking. Cheryl Rapetti. Sue Kovac-Schumann.
Sue Kovac-Schumann, too. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Sue. Thank you. Liz Crowell.
Liz Crowell, James Lee Center, Falls Church.
Chris Babrashak. I think he
Chris Babrashak, City of Fairfax Regional Library.
Chris, you're here. Thank you.
I'm here. Thank you.
David Meyer. Okay. Let's go back to Ann Stuntz.
Wait. Carol Herrick.
Carol Herrick.
McLean, Virginia. Carol Herrick, McLean, Virginia.
Okay, thanks, Carol.
Esther McCullough, Sully.
Okay. Did Cheryl come on? Cheryl Rapetti?
I haven't seen her.
Okay.
I know she's doing camp from 8 to 4 all week.
Okay.
I hear. Does anybody ever hear me? There.
Oh, Anne, yes. And where are you, Anne?
Am I muted?
No. Just in and out.
In and out.
Yeah. Anne, you
So
might
where
be
is
trying
Anne?
dialing in. Okay. Mary, did we get everybody?
As far as I know, I don't have Barbara Peters or Cheryl and David Meyer.
Okay.
What
I
about
know that
Lynn?
Barbara was there earlier.
It looks
And,
like Barbara might have called in now.
okay,
What about Lynn?
Yeah, so I asked about
Lynn
Lynn.
Garvey Hodge. Don't see Lynn.
I had a hard
Okay.
time getting in.
Okay, we're gonna go with what we have. At this point, I will pass the gavel to Mary, our co-chair, so that I may make the appropriate motion. I move that the AAHI committee certify for the record that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of this board.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
I.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstains? The motion carries. Second, need for an electronic meeting. Second, I move that the AAHI committee certify that the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this committee and the public to physically attend this meeting in person, and the usual procedures cannot be implemented safely or practically. As a result, I further move that the Fairfax County History Commission AAHI committee conduct this meeting electronically through a dedicated video and audio conferencing line, and that the public may access this meeting by calling 1-844-621-3956 and entering access code 179-767-8443.
I second
Dr.
the
Peters, that was,
motion.
There's Esther.
okay. Esther, second. All in
Where's
favor?
Mary?
Say bye.
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Mary's there.
I'm here.
Any nays?
The motion.
The motion carries.
Pardon me?
Oh, Esther, I think you're freezing. Maybe turn off your video.
I think we should
Okay.
turn off our videos. Would that make this easier?
You're still choppy, Anne, even without your video.
Okay, we have one more motion. Need to dispense with FOIA's usual procedures to assure continuity in government continue operations. Finally, I move that the committee certify that the matters on its agenda today relate to the COVID-19 emergency itself, are necessary for continuity in Fairfax County government, and/or are statutorily required or necessary to continue operations and the discharge of the commission's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities.
I'll second. Barbara Naif will second.
Okay. All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
I.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Mary, I'll get the gavel back from you.
You can't see it, but I handed it to you.
Thank you. Okay, we only have a couple of items on our agenda for today. And so let's start with Mary's request for any listings that you may submit to Mary for the General Resources Project. Mary, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, if you have, particularly I'm looking for, if you know of oral histories or websites of African Americans from your district that I'm not aware of, I would love to have it. I've putting them into the general sites, but they can also be repeated elsewhere. But I put just a general description of the person, so it's helpful as they are looking at this list. And I've got about 4 from Phyllis as of yesterday. So I'll be looking and finding those. We just want to make sure if somebody says, well, who do you think, we could nominate, that we have some list. It's not going to be all inclusive. It can't possibly be, and if you know some outside of your district, I'll take those too. If I have them on the list, I'll let you know, but I'd love to have anything. And if you can give me a general, quick description, so I just make sure I get the right person. Like for example, you tell me John Smith and there are a million John Smiths. I need to have some little description so I can make sure I've got the right person.
So these are not existing oral histories. These are people who are prospective people.
No, these are ones I can put a link to, that the oral
okay.
history, and honestly, it doesn't have to be oral histories, because like there's a small book on Louise Archer in the library, any type of source information. It doesn't have to be oral histories. That's just what came to my mind. The West Ford, I think, family has a legacy. I found that this morning, a legacy website about him. So anything that I can put there and give them a link or source information.
Okay, and so this is stuff that's not just to appeal to the whole county, but it's like it can be stuff that's just concerning our district. You're just,
Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to figure out like what's the criteria for being on this list versus something that we keep separate.
Well, there is no criteria. We're just making sure we try and cover it all. Okay. So that as they may start looking at general resources first before they go to the district, because they have no information, knowledge of their district. And so this might, that's why I say I don't think we need to worry if it's covered in more than one place.
Okay.
Because, it'd be important enough for them to be able to find it.
Okay. So these are mostly online links.
Or books. Yeah.
What if there's just a name and you don't know if there's any connections at this?
Yeah. Just give me the name and I'll see what I can find.
I'm
Okay?
thinking of John Jackson as a perfect example and for the whole county.
Oh, I've got John Jackson
I
already
know you
covered.
have, but I'm
Yeah.
using it as an example.
Oh, okay, all right.
Example.
Yeah. John Jackson has, I found him in the Smithsonian Folklore Legacy, a couple of sites on him, and he's also on YouTube. And that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to flesh them out too, rather than just giving it one. If I know that there's more than one source for them, I will put as many as I can.
Good.
I'm only up to 31 pages, so we're doing okay.
Wow.
I've got a question. Now,
Yes.
Mary, your 31 pages, what you're talking about, this is all the research that's coming out of this committee, or is this specifically the thing you are making available for that market contest?
No, this is for this committee, which the contest people will use also.
Right. Okay, so the 31 pages, is that somewhere where we know what is there so far?
I can send it. I can send it to you.
That'd be
I
great.
Yeah.
I guess that would help me to figure out what to
Right.
look for and not.
Yeah.
There's so much.
I'm just telling everybody that it's in draft form and I'm still working on formatting, etc. I have sent it to Providence Players. They are a community theater that perform at James Lee, and they want to put on a performance-based something during Black History Month or Juneteenth next year.
Who are you
And-
dealing with? Who are you
Pardon
talking
me?
about? Providence.
The Providence Players. It's a community theater group.
I'm well
Oh,
aware
I'm
of
sorry,
some of
Kevin
the people.
Herknish.
Okay.
Yes.
Kevin Harnish. Yeah, I
Harnish,
know
yes.
him.
Yes.
Known him a long time. Okay, thank you.
And so anyway, I sent it to them. He and I had a nice long discussion.
Mary,
Pardon me? Yes? If that's Ann, maybe you could put it in chat.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yes.
Mary? Mary?
Yes?
I don't know that I can be heard. Can you guys hear me? This is Ann.
Only
No.
the first name.
So, oh, okay, never mind. Never mind.
Well, Ann, you can put it in chat.
No, I'll send you an email later. We're not
Okay.
supposed to discuss business in the chat, just whether we're on mute or not.
Okay.
And you could also call in.
No, I'm trying to decide which is more annoying, calling in and not seeing, or seeing and not being very much of a part of it. Thank you.
Okay.
So anyway, and if you can just send me emails of list of names or whatever, I'd appreciate it.
You
And
you'll share it with you share
I'll send the draft out, yes,
Great, thank
of
you.
resources. Yeah.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, there was one name that I did not call, and I apologize for that. Subi Meding. Yeah, okay, then Subi must not be here. Okay, the other item that we have on the agenda is what we do with all the templates that we're collecting and the listings that we're collecting. What database will we use? And Sue's husband is a professor at George Mason University and has offered to, Sue and her husband have given a suggestion. And Sue, do you want to talk about that, or?
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
We have to, if we're about to do this, we need to put together a statement of work, something general that tells a student working on this with a professor who's a mentor what we expect and what the end result might be. And that sounds, first of all, these are students, and the capstone project of George Mason takes a student through from the beginning of a project all the way to the end. So it's a basic year process. And my husband suggested that we would, as a committee, talk to an interested student and tell them what we want. Now, we don't know what kind of software ultimately we could use and what the county might require. But to basically say, here's this information we have, it. We kind of have an idea of what categories we want, but we would like, with your help, to look for databases, for websites, for things that look friendly. And we are compiling that list already with Denise. So that student could perhaps work with Denise and the county web person. And the student is not expected to, be the expert on this. But the way a project works is you tell them what you want, and along the way there are glitches, and we work on those glitches together. So pretty much it would be the mentor, the student, And my husband volunteered, he's walking here away from me now in the house. He volunteered to put together a statement of work that we could look at. And it wouldn't be as detailed as one of those government contract works, you know, it'd say 5 bullet points, what we expect, what we're looking for. And ideally, it would be nice to have someone who also has an interest in humanities and in African American history. And certainly Mason has that digital history department. And some of the people there, like Professor O'Malley, could also, all right, I'm introducing him. Here you go. This is my husband, Gene Schumann. Tell them what you do and what you're willing to help us with.
Yeah, well, right now I'm on the faculty of the IT department at Mason, which I've been for 4 years. Before that, I worked for a long time at the State Department, excuse me, doing project management. So my suggestion was just that in order to introduce this to my colleagues who run this capstone project for seniors, it would be helpful just to give them some idea as to what you have in mind. In the contract world, they call that a statement of work. And when you're in the government, these things are like page after page after page, but that's not at all what I have in mind. Just maybe just a few bullet points on, look, here's kind of what we'd like to do. And even if you don't really know a lot of the answers, you can just say, well, here's the end point. We don't know how to get there. Can you help us think it through? You know, you can say stuff like that in this statement.
But this is it's a 1-year project. So pretty much the capstone project will try to get a student who has this interest in doing it. And there's a lot of mentoring along the way. So that helps us.
Sue, Sharon Bulva got us involved when we're doing Braddock's True Gold. And I can't remember the lady, she was a grad student who did it for us, but she set up the whole website, the braddockHeritage.org, for us. And I mean, she used Dublin Core, which I'm not familiar with, and maybe it doesn't even exist anymore. But anyway, that was a year-long project
right
for her.
So,
and it's just like you said, we gave a umbrella of what we would like, and then she took it from there.
This was a graduate student, you said?
This was a graduate student at George Mason with the history. I can't remember the professor name. That was
okay, but it's the history department or the digital media, probably. I mean, there's overlap.
Yeah, as far as I know, it was overlapping.
Okay, there's a difference. He was, of course, explaining this to me. We really don't want just a pretty website. We want the database behind that. So that is what that student did, correct?
We did not have any database on there, but it's a lot of resources and interviews and pictures and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I've seen it. I will show him when we're done here. But okay. Yeah, so sounds like a goodbye. Yeah, nice has a meeting now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ahead of time, thank you.
Still trying to hire adjuncts and school starts in a week.
Right.
Here.
Yeah. Okay, I sent Denise an email about what Sue has just explained, and to ask Denise if she had any questions about it. And so she had 3 things. First one was, do you know if the work will be completed pro bono? If they were to charge, then we need to get a cost estimate to see if we have to get other quotes. The second thing is, in the long term, who would be maintaining the information? Will the History Commission be able to add, edit, and amend the data, and how? And the third thing is, if the county will be hosting the database on the History Commission's website, we should coordinate with Thomas Lee, our website person, and he'll be able to tell us if a program that George Mason has will be using is supported by Fairfax County. Subi was going to contact Thomas Lee, and I believe she did get a chance to talk with him, and he didn't have suggestions at that time.
That's a big deal too, who supports it afterwards.
Right.
can we
Right.
do admin? The Radix True Gold, was that done in Omeka, Mary?
All I can remember, it keeps on, in my mind, I keep hearing or seeing Dublin Core on it.
Okay, I'll look for that then. So,
Yeah.
and as far as pay, no, students don't get paid. This is something like a big internship that helps them complete their degree. And allegedly, the students chosen for capstone are the best students. So we would be getting someone, you know, who we probably could work well with. My suggestion would be at the end of a project, if we were happy with it and everything worked out, then, you know, we would talk about maybe a certificate of thanks or a letter of thanks or stipend, small stipend, but let's not even go there because this doesn't involve money if it's with the university.
Right.
And with Braddock's True Cold, it was handed over to one of our volunteers. When she finished it, he became our webmaster for it. And occasionally we had to go back and you know, ask questions and stuff, but generally it was handed over to somebody on the committee.
So the question still outstanding is, would we be editing or doing the final or any additions?
Once it's designed,
Yes.
or
I would think.
right,
the
that's
committee,
something we,
Yeah.
yeah, the committee would have to okay it, sure.
Okay. Thank you.
And there may be additions, because that was our point here, is once we get it out to the public, that there may be resources that we have that we are not aware of or haven't discovered. So,
right.
And the county wouldn't allow the public to upload information like that, obviously, that, yeah, that's just something that, for a lot of good reasons, the government doesn't do, yes. And even other
Yes.
newspapers and other stuff doing some of that, scientific magazines. So, yeah, we want people to know it's there and please keep contributing, but that have to contact us individually, a member of the committee.
Okay. The other thing is, this would be a year-long project. And so we'd have to look at how would that fit into what our current situation is. Do we have to have this completed by December?
I understood that what we need by December is a listing, and so if we have the general resources that Mary can put out, and then, you know, the first step was the listing before we organize it. So the question is, can we put that out so that people see individual resources, or whatever we're going to call them, simply as tags. And the general resources, as I've seen what Mary's early draft, when there's a link, you can go to it. So I think we could get by with that. In fact, we'll have to get by with that, since people want it at this time, and we've said all along it's open-ended, and we haven't set a specific deadline, because we don't, you know, it's evolving.
Right. The question I have is about the academic year. I mean, we're not in any position to have them actually start in September, because we still haven't figured out anything. So I think that's something, Sue, that we'd have to ask your husband. Would there be anybody willing to start in January? You know, because he did say seniors.
Right. But as also said, they could start in on the ground floor before there's anything other than just the idea, and then figure out what we want and need.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if they're coming,
sorry,
if they're coming in as seniors in August, and we have some idea by October, if we have a statement of work that we could present to them by late September or October, they wouldn't really be working on it until first of the year, I think.
If it's like their thesis there or whatever, you know, that the pre-work is there and you actually are doing your actual writing that final semester anyway. Preparatorium, whatever it is you're doing, it's at least in the olden days, it's the second semester of senior year. So we might be able to fit it in.
And we might be, as we, you know, if a commissioner finishes their templates, we could hand them over after somebody's edited them, or are we going to wait until we get them all at one time?
I think it'd be good to give it incrementally to see what's expected, what we expect, as well as what they can do with it. If we dump everything on them at once, that's probably a bit intimidating.
That's a lot.
I agree. Once we have the format, then they can, as the pieces come in, the content for the format, then they can go that way.
They can load it. Yes.
Good point.
Do we need to take a vote to proceed with doing a statement of work, or can we just as a committee pursue it?
We should probably have a formal statement. I mean, you know, the wording, and then we can present that to the full commission as well, I guess.
I was going to suggest, I can work on that statement and send it here to the committee and next time we meet. But yeah, that's probably something, I guess, that the commission might want to vote on. What do you think?
Well, for the C&I, when we had certain statements that we were going to put out as formalizing the Confederate Names Inventory, the committee crafted it, and then we took it to the commission and for the votes. So
having Sue craft it.
And I'll work on one and send it to you, and you can. Well, you can't send it to everybody at once, right? So I'll send it to you, Phyllis, and then
we can circulate it.
Yeah.
Barbara, you had your hand up.
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. It was doing something. I am suffering from those the oak mite bites.
Oh no.
Oh, so that's what I was trying to
Many of us are. Can you believe this?
Sorry about that.
No, I have all this insect stuff all over my body. We sat outside and ate 2 nights. What a very bad idea.
I was pulling up weeds, so that's the end of that. So anyway, my apologies. No,
Oh, thank you.
So I would suggest, Sue, we thank you for that offer, very generous offer, and your husband, thank him from the whole committee and let him know that we will be putting forth the matter before the commission.
Okay, my husband is very used to being voluntold. It's taken 40 years, but he never objects.
Thank you, Sue.
Sounds like a good partnership.
We're so blessed to have resources and people that care. Thank you very much.
That's right. Okay, so we're going to be submitting this to the commission at the September meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And our committee doesn't meet again until September 14th, I think it is.
Wait a minute.
Yes. Yes, September 14th is our next meeting.
Well, we can once you all send it out, we can just, if there's any comments, we can send them back to you and Mary, and then go from there. So we would be ready.
I think that's good.
Okay, so we've quickly covered the 2 things that we had on the agenda.
A record.
Yes. I hesitate to ask, but Mary, do you want to talk a little bit about
Oh, the contest?
the contest and the email that we just got?
Well, I have to go back and read that email to kind of absorb it, but
Okay.
Cheryl and Phyllis and I, no, it was Cheryl and me, I'm sorry.
No, Denise.
Phyllis heard about it secondhand, that's right. Cheryl and I met with REA from Supervisor Palchek's office yesterday. And REA generally, came in with an idea. I had sent him, what I did is I listened to the entire conversation from the past History Commission meeting and took out all the questions and concerns and typed them up and sent them to REA yesterday morning. And I could tell he had really digested them. And he, his first question was, what are the three or four things that we want to highlight as most important concerning this whole process? So first thing that Cheryl said is, well, I don't know if it's the first thing, it's the first thing on my paper here, though, that as history commissioners, we are operating at capacity in what we're doing already. And in terms of figuring out how that we would complete this idea without any staff doesn't seem possible. And so that was one thing. And then I put in that, of course, we are very concerned about our History Commission markers standards be met. If they're going to do a History Commission marker, use that. That this timeline is unreasonable in terms of how starting in January and having, I'll call them winners by June. I also brought up that logistics need to be discussed as who's in charge of every step along the way, from working with the owner and getting permission and then visiting the sites, et cetera, et cetera. There's like 9 steps from the beginning of the mentioning of a marker before it's actually in the ground. And he was very much attuned to that. And so I'll kind of shorten it a little bit, but bottom line, if I can get this out and so it makes sense, we are going to work towards having students submit information. We're not going to call it a text of a marker. It's going to be submitting information about a person. And that is what the voting committee will be looking at in terms of it. So even if you have 20 people who submit information about Louise Archer, it's the idea that Louise Archer is the winner. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That she is chosen to have a marker for her. So the idea of how the students would be recognized, we talked about that, and nothing really has been, in concrete. I did say that I did feel like if we're going to introduce this in January, that somehow there has to be some closure by June for the individual students to know whether their person that they're suggesting, is going to be considered for a marker, okay? Because for one thing, if you have a 6th grader working on it, and then he goes off to middle school next year, that middle school is not going to carry forward, with his accomplishments or anything like that. So that's something that needs to be addressed. I also said the message to the students and the parents and the teachers has to be very clear as to what's expected of them. In other words, if it's a template or if it's a list, a checklist that a student does or whatever it is,
but everybody's got to be on the same page. It cannot be Lucy, oh, just suggest a name, which I never thought it would, but the teacher in me comes out. I just had to make sure that we got that out. I also asked about how young people from all over the county, since the board meeting says students living in Fairfax County, doesn't say Fairfax County public school students. He said this whole information will be on a website, and all submissions will be made to the website. He also agreed that 9 markers is probably unreasonable for the first attempt. We know that the state of Virginia has put in 5 this past year, and we'll be doing some more. So basically, we're not going to be focusing on that we have to have 9 chosen markers by the end of the year. Okay. Yeah.
Yay, we need some wiggle room there.
Yeah.
That's great.
So we didn't mention when the resources would be available for them, but I feel like, I could give them what I have today and they could start working with it. And if there's any additions along the way, oh, I found another person you might want to, put on the resource list, that's fine. Because as a teacher, they're starting to think about this. I know the curriculum people are starting to think about it now and want to see what they can come up with. And I'm looking over here at my notes, and I think that's about it. I think Cheryl brought up that for the state of Virginia, there were 258 submissions as entries. I did a little chart at the end of my list of questions, how many schools there were, which is close to 200 schools in the Fairfax County, and there are 188,000 students. I just did that a little FYI, just to kind of say this is a realistic, and that's not counting non Fairfax County students. So homeschoolers, you name it, anything. We don't know how many things might, or how many students might be involved in this. So I will go over this again at the History Commission meeting to try and I might know a little bit more concrete information there. Okay, are there questions?
Is there any discussion or how to connect with the curriculum people with the schools themselves?
Well, they're in charge of this program and introducing it to the schools. They're the ones who will be introducing it to them.
The curriculum committee will be?
Yeah, the resource teachers.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Not the committee, but the resource teachers, and they're all involved in the committees. So
can you summarize, Mary, then what exactly the HC will be doing?
Well, we have involved
besides our list.
Well, we're involved with the curriculum resource committee and with the contest committee. Okay. And at the very end, we'll be involved in reviewing, even though we're not part of the voting committee, we'll be involved with reviewing the anything that goes on to a marker. Not what the kids submit, but what goes on to a marker.
Okay.
So it sounds like, is there a delineation between like what the product of the contest and a decision about markers? Is there?
Yes, that's what my understanding. I actually wrote down here that we'll actually have like 2 timelines, a timeline for the kid submission and a timeline for actually getting markers in the ground. So there'll be 2 complete separate, timelines. So what they're submitting is I'm Mary Smith and I'm doing Louise Archer. So I'm filling out whatever that's required of me, and I put it in there, and I get a letter or certificate that says, hey, congratulations, your suggestion of Louise Archer for marker in a for a possible marker was accepted. You and 20 others, have suggested. So congratulations, maybe a ribbon, or I don't know, something that they can put in a scrapbook.
So at that point, it's still a possible marker.
Right.
Until
it's still possible.
I gotcha. Okay.
Mary, will the curriculum people be coming up with something like a template, something like what we're using? Anything like that? Do you know? I mean, not that I want to have any role in it, but just curious.
That was kind of loosey-goosey so far. So
I hope they use what the state uses. It would be so easy to just steal what the state uses.
Yeah.
Yep, that would be the best. And
I looked for that on the website and I couldn't find it. Can somebody send that to me?
Yes, I sent a link to that in one of my comments, but I'll resend it.
Okay, well, honestly, I didn't have time to look at all the links.
I'm sure it got lost in there, but yeah, so I sent a link to the state. The state has a very great website. It's got a welcome letter explaining their contest. It's got a submission template where you put your information in. It's, I say, why reinvent the wheel? Like they did.
That's exactly what I
That's great.
Because you have to have REA and others know that you don't need to reinvent the wheel on this thing. And thank you, Mary, for talking to the supervisor, since I did not want to.
Mary,
It sounds like they got the message.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think really having about 50 questions presented, and maybe it's not that many, it sure did feel like that many. If it was 2 pages of questions and concerns, and each one of them were specific. They weren't, loosey-goosey, questions. And I think they really began to say, hey, we have this pie in the sky idea, but we don't have the concrete, underneath of it yet. So I think I was really pleased at the end of the meeting.
Good.
So Mary, I have a question.
Yeah.
Did I hear you say you think we could submit those findings we have so far and let the students start?
No.
But then what would happen?
This is for the George Mason guy or girl.
Oh, okay.
They could start looking what we're gathering and say, oh, okay, I see what they have, how can I categorize it? How can I put it together, et cetera.
Oh, great. Not the Fairfax students.
No.
Okay.
The only thing that they'll be, and Phyllis, you can correct me, but whatever we put on the History Commission website as templates and resources are resources for them. They don't have to use it. I mean, they can go out and do independent research and find, someone to nominate. These are just suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
And the templates is for our, for everyone, to have this information.
So do they just turn in the name of the person that they want to submit?
That's what we
know. Information
that isn't been developed yet.
Okay.
But no, it'd be more than just a name or the reason for that person. But how that's communicated yet, we haven't gotten it yet.
That's from the committee.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
That would be like the contest committee.
Correct.
And
Right.
curriculum people, am I correct, Mary, that you've sent them this 31 pages so that they can get a sense of what they're dealing with?
Right.
Okay. Right. So they already, the curriculum people already have that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And when I get my next 2 or 3 pages done, I will send it out again. So hold on to your horses, guys. I've got about at least, well, if you all send me some names, I've got at least another page or so already to construct. But I'd like to wait till, what is today, Tuesday? Okay, till Friday, because I'm going out of town next week. I'm going on
Yay for Mary.
Yeah. So whatever you can get to me, if you can get it to me by Friday, it will get in an updated resource list, and then I'll send it to Phyllis. You can send it out to everybody, and I'll send it to Alicia Hunter who's the curriculum specialist, who's in charge of that committee. So,
Okay.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, and I liked, I just briefly looked at the message they sent out, and it sounded like they had transitioned to thinking more of this as a long-term project. Like, let's not just put 9 in this year. Let's, put in a few this year and think about in the future and keep it going, because I think that's better for the learning. I just think that's, yeah.
I also
It's
think
realistic. It's realistic.
Well, and you don't want to, I mean, what if you discover somebody great, next year and you've already done 9, and
That's
right.
I just think it's better.
And the whole idea too, I think behind this, what was that you get students interested in this public history, you get them looking at the sources. It would be great if they came up with something nobody knows about, and then
Right.
a year or two. But to just
Yes.
kind of narrow it down, I want them to just go out there and explore, just kind of take tangents. They might come up with things and names we don't know anything about, which would be exciting. So
Right.
Yes.
maybe the supervisor's idea was also that, just have them go out and look. At least that's what I think it was originally. Just have them go out and see things that we don't even know are there. So it'll come, maybe not this year, but just the whole idea of getting that public history mentality out with the students to learn what sources we're giving them, but look for other resources and share them with us. Anyway, I'm excited about this, but thank you, Mary, for being that person who is heading this.
Mary, I have another question. This is Barbara.
Yes.
Was there any way of any statement about still hanging in that every district has to have one, or can this be the full county so that we're not locked in, or they're not locked into a person? If we have one from Hunter Mill, then we can't have something else from Hunter Mill because we also have to have one from Providence.
That was not mentioned, and it did not come up.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
But since I will be on the contest committee, I certainly will remember that. We also did discuss the 2 different types of markers, whether the History Commission or the wayside or tabletop is what I call them, markers. And there is advantages to both. And I think I told Phyllis, I got onto the CWA is the name of the company, got onto their website and started looking at all the different markers. They actually have metal markers like we have with engraved photos of people on them. Yeah. And so there's all sorts of possibilities. I just would prefer, for my sake, if we choose one or the other, because I don't think it's fair. Well, it doesn't make any difference. I keep on correcting myself because I keep on thinking of a kid being a winner with his marker, and that's not what it's going to be anymore. It's going to be a child or student being recognized that they had suggested someone who eventually they've said, yes, we're going to put a marker for it. Okay. So it doesn't make any difference except when judges are doing the judging. I can't imagine them trying to, think in terms of whether this is going to be 100 words about a person or is it going to be 300 words. No matter whether there's photos or anything else, I wouldn't want to have to judge it that way. I think it should be consistent.
Right.
One of the
So
other.
Mary, is this about a person or can it be about a place?
They have from the beginning said it's about a person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, several persons together make a place.
Yes.
That's true. A family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suggested to Mary that we that we encourage this to be called the BOS marker contest, and all, because that way it's not connected. Will not be confused with our History Commission markers. So it was just a subtlety, but if we refer to it that's what this is, the BOS marker program, involving the schools and the History Commission, but it's not a History Commission marker, to separate it.
I can send that on, and I understand, Barbara, that you said that and I didn't bring it up at this meeting, but
It's perfectly all right. I'm just sharing with the committee.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many of you patient souls that listen to me have heard that little idea.
But yeah, I mean, if you really want to look at markers, just go to the CWA. I mean, I was amazed at the different styles and subjects, and if I remember one was on the a type of a recipe or something like that. Different colors. You know, I'm just so used to seeing the History Commission markers and the state markers, and ours look kind of bland in some respects.
What is the name of that? How's that spelled?
Okay, I found out by reading the history of it. It's SEWAH. It's actually the founder's name spelled backward. His last name was Hawes, Hawes. So SEWAH. And you can look at Facebook or else look at their website. And it's amazing.
CWA markers.
Pardon me? Actually,
What's the name?
Studios. CWA. I just Google CWA but
Okay.
CWA Studios.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm pressing this one more time, it would make this, make them distinctive if they were separate from all these others. So
Yeah.
that's a positive thing.
Yes.
It accentuates it.
That's
So
what I thought, when they're in their 40s and they're going down the road and they say, oh, that's one of the ones from the contest I participated in.
exactly.
Because they can tell it's the difference from the History Commission. So,
Right. So you could lobby it that way, because I think that's good.
yeah.
Yeah, it's good to have it different. And they can pause in their flying cars and say, I had something.
We can put the URL marker on and they can put it up on their cell phone and get additional information.
Sure.
You know, they're doing that on
Yes.
gravestones now in cemeteries.
Yeah.
You can have a URL on your gravestone.
My
and
goodness.
hear the person's recording or whatever they want.
Oh, that's scary. I'm sorry.
I better make my recording now.
Voices from the grave. Voices from the grave. That is.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary and
Yes.
Phyllis, for all of this effort, and to Cheryl, who's not here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mary's been doing all of this.
I know she has, and bravo, Mary.
Yeah.
This
I,
is,
you know, I advocate it. I mean, to me, it's a great idea, but I still, when I had suggested it, thought it was going to be like a science fair, little project with their posters, nothing more than that.
Right. The tie into, our program has made it a little bit more complicated.
Yes.
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I think
It's all going to work out.
we're finding
Yeah.
ways to kind of satisfy that and continue with our original initiative and our original plan.
Right.
Yes.
Agreed. Yeah.
Props to everybody. That's not been easy. Like a minefield.
Yes.
this is
Okay.
Carol.
Yes, Carol.
Okay, thank you. Can we go back to the AAHI meeting for a second?
Sure.
I have two questions. The first one is, when do you want the templates?
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
Well, it sounded like you wanted them incrementally, or like, I think I finished mine. Now, do you want me to send them, or do you want me to wait?
I thought incremental meant by the districts rather than.
Okay, well, where are we sending them though?
Well,
That's another question.
I
How
mean,
about,
I don't have to send them right away. It's just that you were talking about sending them in increments or whatever. And if you want them, fine. And if you don't, you don't.
And we talked about setting up a committee to review them
right.
before we would send them to a database.
I wonder if we need to ask Denise about the share file or Dropbox or something, because one of those,
Right.
they disappear after 30 days. I
That's
forgot
right.
which one it is. So we
That's
don't
the
want
share
that to
file.
happen.
Yeah, share file disappears after 30 days.
Okay.
And Dropbox is indefinite. Chris, you're on this call. Am I right about that?
That's right. Yeah, the share file is 30 days and Dropbox, it's indefinite.
The only problem with Dropbox is you can't use it on a county computer.
Oh, okay.
Because when we were doing the 275th,
Oh,
I
right.
had to do that all with my personal email on my home computer.
Well, then that's just not going to work. What if you just send it in the old-fashioned way by email, and we store them ourselves after we get them? That's sort of how we did the CNI information.
Send it to each person on the committee or to Mary and Phyllis?
Mary and Phyllis.
Mary and Phyllis, and then can decide who's going to edit it. But as far as sending it,
Liz, I'm wondering in the county, and this is just a wild idea, because I know in teaching, there were private little places that we could send stuff to on Blackboard and all. So I'm wondering on our History Commission website, would there be a way to set up that somebody has to have a password or something in order to get to that section, and we could, store it there? Has anybody ever heard of anything like that?
I don't know. Is Cheryl doing your website now, or who's doing the website?
No, that's Sudi.
Okay. Well, then it would probably either have to go through Denise asking the county, or if Sudi's aware.
I think Sudi.
I can talk to Denise and find out.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I thought Sudi said she was going to kind of facilitate, but not do it herself. So she still has to go to Thomas Lee or somebody to do that.
Right, that's correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Carol, I guess wait until the next meeting and hopefully we'll have an answer.
Okay, that sounds fine.
Okay.
Let me ask my next question, and thank you for that one. This Liz might be interested in. This concerns the boundary stones between the original District of Columbia, and there are 3 boundary stones that are border Fairfax County or the Drainesville District. But when I look at them, they say Arlington. Now, is Arlington one side and Fairfax the other side? Because I would then include Benjamin Banneker in my list. So when I'm going to go down and look at them, but it's sort of like the markers, well, this is Arlington County, and I'm just wondering if Fairfax is on one side supposed to be and Arlington on the other.
It wasn't Arlington originally part of the square, the DC square, and then pulled.
Right.
So originally it would have been Fairfax and DC, which would have been, then you could use him.
Well, I don't know. I'm sort of asking a technical question here, because when you look on the web pages, they list them, the address is Arlington, but one side should be Fairfax County.
Right.
Because it's the border. So
Right.
Why not list him?
Well, I'll list it and see what happens, but it's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Well, that's like with Braddock, there's properties and stuff that cross over the Little River Turnpike. So it's both Braddock and Mason. So I went ahead and wrote them up for mine, and I'm putting down District Braddock and Mason since it crosses the Little River Turnpike. So that's similar, not the same, what you're talking about, Carol, but similar.
Would be interesting in the general resources, because the kids would learn a little bit about the fact that Arlington was
right
DC, and so if it's a boundary, it's between 2 entities, and one was Fairfax and one was DC. So
well, that's like I've added in the general resources. Falls Church City has 100 years of Black, I don't know the exact title, but it's 100 years of Black history in Falls Church City. I put it in the general resources because I said at one time Falls Church City was part of Fairfax County.
Right.
So, Carol, let me do some research too on Benjamin Banneker. And
Well, it's not him we need to worry about. It's the marker.
the boundary stones, yeah.
So I just thought it would be interesting to include Benjamin Banneker in here. McLean has always claimed, well, one is in Falls Church, and McLean is claimed too. And then when I started looking at it, I see Arlington is claiming them. So that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, for our purposes, we can claim them.
Okay. Well, I'll put it in the thing and in the write-up then. Okay. Thank you.
Carol, just to make the rest of us feel like we are not doing what we should be doing, how many of these templates have you finished since you said you have finished?
I have 26 pages.
All right. I'm gonna get cracking. Thank you.
It's going by the template. That doesn't mean it's a complete page, you know. It's going by, yeah, okay.
Thank you.
And see, they, like, Drainsville has more. Hunter Mill doesn't have that many. At least Ann and I haven't, you know.
Braddock District's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You all are just trying to weasel out of this, that's all.
No, Mount Vernon's
Remember, you can always add to it.
So, all right, thank you. I'll include boundary markers, and we can always toss them out if, well, however we look at it. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Well, and I would say, when in doubt, put it in.
Right.
You know?
Good.
Yeah.
Because what's the harm in it? If it's African American, you know, so
Good.
okay.
And the National Park Service has I'm on the website right now looking at, they have a map that shows, I mean, it's a USGS map. It's gross sizing, but it does show the locations of the boundary stones.
Well, when they give an address, it's an Arlington address on all of them. Anyway, okay, I'll throw it in.
Yes, you're correct, Carol.
But again, they would have put that because they were the boundaries marking the District of Columbia. And at the time it was the District of Columbia. So they were listed as that, correct? Even though the backside of it's Fairfax County. That's my logic. I don't know that it works, but.
It sounds good to me, Barbara.
Pardon me?
I said it sounds good to me.
Okay.
Well, we'll go with that until further notice. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, you know, I was working with a lady at the library recently who's researching a Stafford County cemetery and has had finding little information. And I said, have you checked Prince William? And she said, oh, I saw that reference somewhere. I said, because Prince William was larger at one time also. And Stafford came out, parts of Stafford came out of Prince William. So that's the problem with these things. They're not stagnant. You know,
Wasn't Fairfax part of Prince William before it became Fairfax?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
So hopefully we don't have to worry about that though.
Okay, do we have anything else before we close?
We got a lot done.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good stuff.
All right, the next meeting is September 14th at 2:30.
That's a very special day. That's the attack of Fort McHenry.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
The War of 1812.
Okay.
Oh my.
You know, when I'm standing in front of the banner in the Smithsonian, I'll say, "Oh, September 14th," and they all look at me like, "You mean June 14th, Flag Day?" No, it's not Flag Day.
Yeah.
So, anyway, okay.
Okay.
Everybody.
All right.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Mary. Have a great vacation.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Going to Gunpowder Falls in Maryland.
Oh,
All right.
Nice. Have fun.
Thank you.
Sounds good. And Grace, thank you so much for being Denise today.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.